Welcome to FPL Selection. Today we'll take a look at how the team is shaping up for Game Week 14, but first a quick look at how we got on in Game Week 13. So 51 points pushed me up inside the top 350,000. It was another week of only a few players picking up points. Saka got an assist, Fernandes got 2, Mateta got a goal, and Thiago got 2. So I'm happy I've stayed patient with the likes of Saka and Fernandes. As I keep saying, they're long-term picks. I think you keep them for a large part of the season, and that's starting to pay off. And Thiago's been a great transfer in 17 points in 2 weeks. Yeah, really happy with that. The Haaland captaincy failed again, but no great loss as the majority had the same. So looking forward to the chaos of the next few weeks. And yeah, fairly happy with the squad overall coming into the busy Christmas period. So looking ahead now to Game Week 13, I've got 2 transfers in the bank. I'm planning to use both. We'll all receive 5 transfers in the lead up to Game Week 16. So, they need to be used up before then. I can fix a few problems with the squad. Pope missed the last game with injury. It looks likely he'll be out again this week. There were rumours he may have been dropped anyway after his mistake in the Champions League. So with RAMSDALE, being the replacement there, he's cheaper. I was already very happy to hold Pope anyway. Newcastle have got some decent fixtures in the short term. They've been a pretty good defence for most of this season. I think it seems like a logical choice. Just bring in RAMSDALE, continue to pick up the save points. Hopefully that Pope was getting some good fixtures with chances of clean sheets. Yeah, I think it's a decent shout. And obviously with the 5 transfers in a couple of weeks' time, if it does go wrong and Pope comes back or, I want to go somewhere else, I can do. So the other option I'm looking at is potentially Sanchez from Chelsea. He's also 4.8 million. Chelsea have looked, much better defensively. And I think Sanchez is probably the most nailed player in their defence. So I think it's just, just sort of whether I fancy a Newcastle defender or a Chelsea defender, really. The only downside with Sanchez is he just doesn't get the save points that Pope was getting. And those save points, he's getting almost every week. And it does add up to, almost extra clean sheets over the course of a season. So, yeah, I think I'm probably weighing more towards Ramsdale at the moment. Obviously, the idea would be to keep Pope. But I think, I'll have to keep an eye out for any news. But at the moment, it looks like he's probably still going to be out for this one. I'm also looking to offload Paquetá. He's suspended again after only just coming back from a suspension. He's been quite disappointing, really. It looks like, the things he's coming out and saying in the press and just the way he got sent off at the weekend. He's probably angling to get a transfer in January, I would imagine. So, yeah, it's just not worth keeping him, really. The only long-term target I've got at the moment is Palmer. But obviously, I think, we need to see him play a few games first before, jumping on him. And I will need to make sort of 2 or 3 moves to afford him. So I'm probably just going to take a short-term punt, and I'm looking at Gakpo or Guimaraes. They've both got good fixtures for the next 3. Guimaraes has been particularly good at home. He's had double-digit hauls in the last 3 home games. They've got 2 home games coming next. So, yeah, looks like he could be, a really nice short-term punt. Liverpool's good run of fixtures goes into the new year. Gakpo's probably going to get good minutes, especially with Salah going to AFCON. And it looks like sort of Isak is not quite fit enough to be playing 90 every week. So him and Ekitike just seem to be rotating that centre forward spot. So I think, you're just looking at Wirtz and Gakpo will probably play in the wide roles. And Szoboszlai will play most of the games as the number 10. And that obviously be, a bit of rotation. But I think Gakpo should start more than, he might miss one, but get like 15, 20 minutes off the bench, which isn't too bad in a Liverpool team, which, they should get much better now. The run of fixtures they've got should breed a bit of form. You can't see him being this bad for the whole season. So, yeah, I just have to see, what the general consensus is for Liverpool fans, whether he starts in the midweek game. But I think Gakpo's probably my preferred choice at the moment. So looking at the current team, first up the defence, I've got Pope in there at the moment. Obviously, it'd be great if he does end up playing, but all the sort of current news at the moment is saying that, he's likely going to be out. So probably that would be Ramsdale. I think any home game for Newcastle, they've always got a chance for a clean sheet. Tottenham are such a weird team to predict at the moment. They have some good performances, poor performances. It's hard to tell with them. They've been better away from home, but Newcastle's always a difficult place to go. And I think whether it's Pope or Ramsdale, I think there's a good chance for a clean sheet there. So that's kind of one of the reasons I'd like to keep that Newcastle spot there. Then I've got Estev starting against Palace at home. Now this is a complete coin toss really between him and Alderete. I think they're both very good for DEFCON, and that's pretty much all I'd be looking for in this one. A 3 or a 4 pointer. I want to keep Senesi long term because I got him at 4.5 and he's just, again, perfect for DEFCON, and Bournemouth are a little bit of a better team for clean sheets. So, I think just going to go on the reliability of starts with the Stev. I'm sure he'll start. And, a home game, they might fluke a clean sheet if Palace are tired, like they did look against United at the weekend. Alderete's away at Liverpool, and he's only just come back in the side. I think he will continue to play. I think he's their number one centre back, but as I say, he's only just come back from his concussion, so he might get rotated for this midweek game with a quick turnaround. So that's pretty much the only reason I'm going with the Stev there. And like I said, I think I like my defence, and I don't really want to put any more money into it at the moment until I'm certain, where the rest of the team's going to be. Then I've got Munoz away to Burnley. I've got the Crystal Palace double up there with Lacroix. Obviously a really good fixture for anyone, Burnley. Not too much of a threat on the attack, so really good chance here of a Palace clean sheet. The only thing I'm wary of is, like I mentioned earlier, is just the tiredness. How are they going to manage this really busy schedule? They've still got the Conference League and the Carabao Cup quarterfinals as well, with pretty much playing the same 11 almost in every game. So, it'll be interesting. But, this is one of the fixtures I was looking at when I brought in the double up. And, you'd feel hard done by if, you didn't get something, even an attack in return from one of the two. Moving on to the midfield, Saka is at home to Brentford. Should be a really good fixture this for Arsenal. And, any home game for them, you're expecting at least 1 or 2 goals. Saka is quietly ticking over. Nothing too explosive at the moment, but you can see he's back to his very best. And, he's always got a great delivery on him. And you're just expecting little bits of points every week because he's that consistent. And, over the course of the season, you're expecting it to add up. So, not quite looking like he's captainable at the moment. Not quite that explosive, but I think, Brentford have been good at home this season, but away from home, they have shipped a few goals. So, you'd expect something here from Saka and a comfortable Arsenal win. And Fernandes is at home to West Ham. Now, the game just passed against Palace. He actually did have not one of his better games. He did okay in the second half, but in terms of FPL threat, that really wasn't that much. The 2 assists were, there was nothing really special about either. He laid off for a Mount free kick, and the ball into Xerxes, he still had a lot to do with that goal. So there was nothing there to suggest, points are coming, but, he got the 11 points. And that's why, you keep Fernandes for long chunks of the season, because he'll have games like that where he does very little and ends up on double digits. And, he had shown the threat in the weeks before, goal threat, where he didn't get any points. So, you've just got to keep him for 10, 15, 20 weeks and you'll get the points. They'll average out over the season. So, West Ham at home should be a good fixture, but United are just so up and down at the minute, it's hard to tell. And, that's why I think you keep Fernandes a long chunk of the season. He's probably better than Mbumo for getting points on a more regular basis. So, he's going to stay in there. Good minutes for the Christmas period. Very happy with him. And Enzo is away to Leeds. Had another good game against Arsenal. Enzo, he's looked really good for Chelsea, probably for at least 6 to 8 weeks now. Unfortunate that they went down to 10 men because I think, he could have been a real threat in the box for them playing further forward. But, Leeds away. Leeds, not looking so great defensively now. Whether I get reduced minutes with the busy schedule, maybe, but I'd like to have Palmer in at this point, but obviously it's too early to go for him. So yeah, very happy with Enzo, and he'll stay for a few more weeks, I think, until the sort of shuffle round with the 5 transfers. Then at the minute, I've got Reinders in there away to Fulham, but I think more than likely I'll be transferring someone in for Paquetá. Reinders did start the last game, so I'm quietly hopeful he might continue starting, but in all honesty, he's going to be transferred out fairly soon. It's just Paquetá getting the red card has put himself to the front of the queue. So yeah, I've got no real intention of keeping him, and I think the likes of Gakpo or Guimaraes that I talked about earlier, both could be really nice short-term punts for the next few weeks. And yeah, one of them will be coming in, I'm sure, for Paquetá this week. Looking at the forwards, Haaland is away to Fulham. Fulham's always a tricky game, I think, and it's not a fixture that screams lots of goals. They don't tend to get any, hammerings. But Haaland's not scored in the last 2 weeks, and you know he's going to be highly motivated. He's got a decent record against Fulham. With a quick turnaround with the midweek games, I think generally you're going to get good minutes out of Haaland. I don't want to tempt fate here, but you imagine he's going to play most of the game. And yeah, I just don't think there's nothing standing out to me. Even Saka and Fernandes having home games, I just can't see either of them being a captain option this week. So it stays with Haaland, and I'd be very surprised if he doesn't score for another game. And Mateta's away to Burnley. Had another decent game against United. He always gets a chance. He had his penalty. Obviously had to retake it, and he still scored. But he's just always lively. He's a good threat, against any team, and they're going to need him for this one. Sarr's out, it looks like, so he's probably going to have to play at least an hour again. I think the legs will catch up with Palace soon, but I'm not going to take him out while he's fit and he's playing, because Palace always create chances and he's always the one on the end of them. So yeah, Burnley, you imagine he's going to get at least 1 or 2 chances in the game, and you back him to score them, because yeah, he's a good finisher on his day. And Thiago is away to Arsenal. Obviously, this is the worst fixture for attackers. But, Saliba's out, Gabriel's out. It's, a midweek turnaround. You're never expecting, everybody to be playing at their best. So he's gotten plenty of penalties this season so far. And, and the chances are coming his way, he's finishing them. So there's no reason to bench him, in my opinion. I think he's in such good form. He can score against anyone. And like I said, I just don't think that Arsenal defence is going to be quite as good without both of them, the 2 centre-backs. So I think we saw that against Chelsea a little bit. They weren't quite as solid. So yeah, quietly confident there in Thiago, and I certainly won't be benching him anytime soon. So in summary, I'm likely to go Haaland captain again. As I said, he's got a decent record against Fulham. It'd be very surprising if he goes 3 games without a goal. He's going to be well motivated anyway. So yeah, I'm just not seeing any other good options. Saka will be vice captain. He's just the second I trust, really. Out of my team, most likely I'll end up with Ramsdale in for Pope, unless there's some news that Pope's recovered and he's going to start. And then I think Gakpo is most likely to come in for Paquetá. I may end up starting Alderete ahead of Estev, but yeah, I've just got to think that one through a little bit more ahead of the deadline. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.